here? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, dude, what is up? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, yeah. We're like gonna play. Alright. Hey, my Dorito posters, what's up? Welcome on in. Are you staying crunchy and tasty when powdered in cheese? Yeah, I probably should open that with that every time. Oh, please excuse me. I'm sorry. I just, drank soda. I, had some, breaded mushrooms. Hmm. Sorry about that. Alright, please don't mind the Steam logo. Stay rolling up it. Alright, we're playing Bloodstained. Oh, well, I forgot I, turned up the game volume because, last time I played, last time I played Henry Stickmin, I had the volume way too quiet and nobody could hear what was going on. And, that's kind of a big detriment to the game. When you can't hear what the characters are saying. So I kind of had it really set high. That's probably why, my voice got drowned out a couple times. Alright, whoops, that's not it. Right now, Alright, now bring up the keyboard. Whoops, that's not what I want. Oh, wait, what button is it again? Alright, just give me a second. I'm kind of losing on the name. Kind of losing it on the naming screen, boss. Yeah, remember, there was a stream. Alright, I'm gonna put an Endumati. I would normally do a backer code, but, I don't need to do that. I already have the DLC, so I'm gonna be starting with powerful weapons. Alright, proceed with that name. Play as Miriam on normal difficulty. Oh, we have a start. Alright, we're gonna start the stream with an ad, so.
The Industrial Revolution ushered in a new era that threatened to transform.
Alright, I'll try not to talk over cutscenes.
No longer would spirituality be their compass. But not all welcomed the change. In 1783, just as the fires of the Lac plunged all of Europe into an ashen darkness, a horde of demons spilled from the shadows and fell upon city after English city. It was a mess.
No, ad break. Get out of here.
The Alchemy Guild, fearing the rise of industrialism and abandonment by their wealthy patron, had done the unthinkable to defeat.
Yeah, they created the Shardbinders.
Through reckoned arts, the alchemists had created Shardbinders, humans transplanted with crystal that attuned them to demonic power.
Yeah, that's why, Miriam has those crystal roses on her.
And in doing so, threw the gates of the world open to demonkind. Countless innocents died. And though the church succeeded in vanquishing the Hell's End, a steep price had already.
Yeah, that's the reason for Dominic Singer. And her, side story where she has her redemption arc.
They were presumed to have all died in the sacrificial rite. However, two survived. Jeeble, the boy for whom by some miracle the rite did not prove fatal. And Miriam, a girl who spared the rite altogether on account of the strange slumber that took her just before it could begin. 10 years had passed. Mankind too soon.
I think with 10 years passing, people would remember it a little bit more, but, I guess people had a short attention spans even back then. Most people, attribute it not least to social media, but I think our attention span has been pretty short for a long time.
Learning Jeeble is the architect of this new, blood-stained ritual. Miriam and the alchemist Johannes set forth for the accursed castle. Their galleon cuts through water, lancing.
Time for the Voyage of Promise. Which this game, definitely delivered on its promise, to the backers. I kind of wish I backed this game, But I didn't really have what I had to, I kind of wish I backed this game. I would back the, if there was a sequel to this and, it needed backing, I would back it. After all, Higurashi, was definitely Johannes, are you certain it was?
It was Jeebel's doing, Miriam.
It's so hard.
Yeah, Jeebel's a good soul.
Won't even be alive
I know he had people, but the facts are
I
apparent.
know how you feel, and the hell he endured 10 years ago would break the... Miriam, I want you to know that I'm sorry.
No, Johannes is, a good alchemist.
Subjected you to...
Probably one of the few in this game.
Transgression.
Yeah, they're kind of, the rest of the Alchemy Guild are like, the Eldusian Empire. Well, not quite, but, they kind of were more in it, they kind of were more in it for the money and, decide, terrorizing the world would be a great way to,
But I'm the
get people, to side with them a little bit more so that they can, suppress the
All I
damage.
know is that the presence of the web of the magic's hope
Yeah, it turned out not to be a good idea.
will fall soon. I have the chest there, packed with...
Alright now, first and foremost, we gotta equip, we gotta equip the magical girl outfit. Yeah, I do have the DLC. Let's see, communicator's all I need. Alright, yeah, there we go. Magical girl outfit has been equipped. Yeah, I don't need a half genie tiara. Magical girl outfit has been Magical girl outfit has been equipped. I sure hope nothing happens that causes corruption. Yes, I know what I know how to equip things. You don't need to tell me. I already know how equipping stuff does.
Good.
Oh no, monster! Oh no, it's covered in blood. No, that's not good.
I'll take care of
Hey. There we go. We got a shard. Uh-oh. Oh, we got a shard now. It's full of demonic power. Now it's full of demonic power. Oh no.
How did they get inside?
The demons from...
Alright now. Oh no, I think the demonic shard is kind of doing something to Miriam. Oh no, I think it's doing something to Miriam. Oh no. She's becoming more lewd. No. She's becoming a monster. No. Now she turned into a succubus now. No. This is unexpected. I'm experiencing a magical girl corruption arc. No. No, I became a succubus now. I started off as an innocent magical girl, and now I'm a succubus now. We have to, clear this corruption. We have to beat the game to clear the corruption. Alright, jump, like a kangaroo. Jump. Yeah, we got corrupted by tentacles, of course.
This device responds.
Come on, Boo-chan. Yeah, we are using Boo-chan a little bit. Yeah, I am. He's just kind of the starting familiar that I have, so, yeah, we are gonna use him to get up ledges and stuff like that, but we won't be using him too much for combat. I'll take him out when I need an extra boot, when I need an extra jump. Although I will probably be using Kira in his place. Yeah, I should have, abandoned that right away. Alright, I forgot I don't have double jump. Kinda used to having that. Ooh, another cerulean splash. Alright, but, yeah, I'll allow any shard in this town. I'll allow any shard. Alright, now, can we get up here? Alright, now, slice. We're already so strong as a succubus, though. We are pretty strong as a succubus, though. We do get to increase the strength and our luck. Cool, I got an HP max up, yeah. Nice, HP max. Alright, now. Alright, and being a succubus is very convenient. Alright, now, wait, let's see, what weapon should I use? Actually, should I just make this a casual playthrough? Although our scythe is, very edgy, but very slow. A scythe is a quintessential edgelord weapon. I've seen enough edgy characters using scythes. I've seen plenty of edgy characters using scythes, yeah. It's kind of the quintessential edgelord weapon. Perfect for when you're in a corruption arc. Of course, the skin suit and, the scythe can be upgraded to, bigger forms. So you can have them at the end of the game if you really want to. But of course, you'll need to upgrade them. Which is very nice of, Mr. Iga to do. That's kind of one thing, that's kind of one thing that I wish, more video games did with, their cosmetic costumes. Their cosmetic costumes. Since, You know, the original Dragon Quest 11 didn't allow you to, you know, use your costumes cosmetically without the stat boot, without the stats that are associated with them, but, you know, the S version does. Yeah, I kind of wish more video games were like the S version, really. Or like this one, where you can just straight up upgrade, you know, the equipment, if you really want to, but, you know, Dragon Quest 11 allowed you to keep it as cosmetic. You know, and, you know, allow you to equip basically any armor you want. But keep the costume as a cosmetic. I hope that, you know, when Dragon Quest 12 comes out, they kind of keep going with that. Not like there's... I know, there's not really too much aesthetics, you know, in Dragon Quest, in the Dragon Quest 3 remake. You know, aside from, you know, the cats and, you know, bikini costumes, obviously. Well, maybe just a little bit. Hopefully, when, you know, Dragon Quest 12 comes out, they decide, you know, to, you know, just allow you to have a bikini with, you know, with your butt showing. Yeah, all video games need to do that. All video games need to go back to doing that. Whoops, I forgot I had, you know, the 8-bit fireball on. I'll just remove that real quick. Yeah, I gotta remember the 8-bit fireball is a bit expensive right now. Yeah, it is the Shantae weapon. It's basically your fireball spell it's basically your fireball spell. Yeah, it's basically just your fireball spell. Although my favorite spell in Shantae are definitely the pike balls and scimitars. Because, you know, they always really help out. They really help out with dealing lots of damage to, you know, the bosses. They're a little bit expensive though, but they really help at dealing damage. You know, Shantae, you know, I played quite a bit of Shantae games not too long ago. You know, my favorite one was Seven Sirens. Man, I should really, I would love to replay Seven Sirens too someday. But obviously I won't do it this year. Honestly, I don't think I'll be doing that this year. You know, replaying Seven Sirens, of course. You know what I should really play that I've been wanting to play for a long time? Yeah, I should play, you know, Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth. Now, Team Ladybug did do that, you know, Toho game, so I'm expecting Deedlit to be kind of tough. But, you know, it's nothing I can't handle. I mean, if anyone can do it, I'm sure I can too. After all, Innovan plays a lot harder games than I'm used to. I'm used to, you know, more casual Metroidvanias, and, you know, lots of Metroidvanias these days, you know, are inspired by, you know, Dark Souls and all that. Which, you know, it's fine with me, but, you know, kind of wish more of them were inspired by Evanias. You know, I think more of them should be, really. I think more of them should be inspired by Evanias, yeah. You know, one interesting thing about, you know, Evanias is, you know, Iga, you know, basically designs these games around, you know, yeah, he designs them, you know, designs them around, you know, the characters being able to beat the game with no matter what weapon they're equipped with. Yeah, he even had, you know, he even had his own staff beat the game on using just a knife and no other piece of equipment, and, you know, beating Bale with that. So, you know, you could test so that, you know, you could beat the game with anything. Oh, nice. Oh, I got an Alcahest. Oh, yeah, the Ghosts do drop Alcahest. I am gonna be needing a few of those later. So I'll be grinding on Ghost a little bit later. Also, I will be, you know, jumping up. Once I get double jump and, you know, get boot, and, you know, and bounce on Boot-chan, I can come back to the ship. Yeah, of course, double jump, you know, allowing you to do basically kick bounce. Yeah, kick bounce is always a good thing, you know, in Castlevania. Although this game was made by, you know, the True Blue, you know, made by, you know, actual people who made Castlevania. Especially Iga. Hey, Pathogen, what's up? Alright, burn it up. Blaze up, hold up. Yeah, use the cannon. You know, alright now. Yeah, using shards to, you know, using certain shards to solve puzzles kind of reminds me of, you know, Dawn of Sorrow and Aria of Sorrow a little bit. if I may say that. Yeah, you remember that game, right? Yeah, Arya and Dawn. Yeah, Arya and Dawn, Dawn of Sorrow had a few puzzles where, hidden monsters would show up if you, use certain shards in certain locations. Such as you could get the flying humanoid, and, you could get the Yeti. Yeah, I remember the Yeti soul kind of sucking in that game. I remember Yeti sucking. Alright, I kind of want to grind for shards. I kind of want to grind a little bit before I, take on the first boss. Yeah, the first boss is Vapor. He's, like, based on Argothea. It kind of reminds me I also want to make, stuff based on Argothea as well. Alright, I kind of want to make stuff based on Argothea as well. Obviously, I don't know too much about it, but, Iga seems to. So maybe I could just modify, designs that he made. Maybe I can just modify, some of them based on his own designs for them. Or, I could just research it myself. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if that Kuraba, actually resembled a dude, that was, bent up in a star? I think that'd be very funny. Or maybe I could go with like a starfish design, and have it be like a purple kind of thorn starfish, and have like a scary old man face on it. After all, the crown of thorn starfish is a pretty an invasive species in some parts of the world. That's like a big giant starfish, covered in poisonous thorns. Yeah, kind of hard for anything to really take it down, really. It's native to like it's native to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Yeah, of course it would come from Australia. Of course it would come from Australia. Sadly, it's probably one of the more tame wildlife from Australia. Although many people kid on, Australia and all its deadly wildlife, but, I think Africa has some deadly wildlife, too. Of course, I was familiar with a lot of African wildlife, such as elephants and lions and cheetahs, jaguars, black mambas. Many people in Africa are really scared of, black mambas, and I don't blame them. They're, like, more scared of them than they are of, lions and all that. Jeeps, when they're on tour, will deliberately go all the way to avoid black mambas, because black mambas can do all sorts of crazy shit. Yeah, and I really don't blame people for that. I mean, if I saw something as deadly as a black mamba coming at me, and I knew it was, super deadly and all that, taking any sort of bite would be instantaneous death, I'd be like, oh shit, I need to avoid that, as much as possible. That would certainly scare me. Of course, in Japan, they have giant centipedes that, are, like, super venomous and all that. And, they, like, stab people and, make them go to the hospital. Yeah, we do have giant centipedes in the U.S., but they're kind of, regulated to more of the southwestern deserts. Yeah, in fact, there's lots of giant centipede species all over the world, and, the bigger they are, the meaner they are, really. Especially the Japanese. Yeah, but I heard the ones in Japan are, like, super mean. They made a yokai based on those giant, centipedes? Yeah, they made a yokai based on those giant centipedes. Yeah. In fact, I believe they were in Neo. You remember that game? It's like Japanese it's like Dark Souls, but set in Japan. It's like feudal Japan, Dark Souls, and you fight yokai. And one of them is a giant centipede boss. Of course, Yuki. Of course, they have Yuki Onna as well, but Yuki Onna looks super beautiful. There's actually another Japanese yokai that's based on stone ice and all that. It's like, made from an icicle, and it's like super sweet, but prone to melting. Prone to melting, so it kind of goes away, So she kind of goes away once things warms up, and people, and lots of her husbands are like, "Yo, what's up with that?" and they don't realize it, There's also a tale of her kind of murdering somebody for cheating. Which, doesn't sound too... Which, kind of sounds similar to Undyne. Undyne, being an elemental spirit of water, that's kind of similar to a mermaid, yeah. Yeah, and Undynes, tend to be very, possessive of their loved ones because they're basically sharing a soul with them, because that's what water elemental fairies do. When you marry them, they kind of share your soul with you. And if you cheat on them, that's, kind of really bad for both of you. That's kind of really bad. That's kind of really bad because they kind of, tend to take revenge on that. And and that's really no good for you. Anyway, alright, now, we got lemon. Now, lemons are a rare drop. Yeah, lemons are very high in citrus, so they used to use them to fight off scurvy as well as, oranges and limes. Of course, my favorite type of lemonade, was pink lemonade. I always liked it better than, regular lemonade for some reason, when I was growing up. I don't know if I would still feel that way, though. It's definitely nice and all that, though. Oh, nice, another lemon. Lemon lime. Oh, by the way, did you know the harpy enemy is kind of based on one of the 3 harpies? Yeah, in fact, all the 3 harpy enemies in this game are based on the Greek harpies. Yeah, funny enough, the Greek harpies are actually really beautiful, and then, when things got Christianized, the Christians decided to make it seem like they were super ugly and all that. Yeah. Yeah, they kind of did us, unfortunately a lot of religions, unfortunately, kind of, demonize a lot of things that are not part of their culture. As I would know, I was kind of, indoctrinated into it for a little bit of my life, so... just gonna be honest with that. Alright, now. No, hey, it's Dolahan. Dolahammer? Well, yeah, it's Dolahan. Yeah, Dolahans are an unseelie fairy, yeah. Yeah, I know lots of people, kind of depict them as undead, but, they're basically like a headless knight that's like a fortunate death, and they also have, human spine whips. Yeah, if they call, yeah. The Headless Horseman is kind of based on them, old Ichabod Crane. Which kind of reminds me of the Scarecrow from Batman. Hey, knock it off with the phone. Knock it off with the phone. Ooh. Oh, another shard. Oh, nice. Oh, nice, another shard. Hey, knock it off with the phone. Fill out with the phone. Phone marketers, get out of here. Get out of here, you're trying to scam me. No, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I want kick Kaboga to you. I'll put your scam at you with one of his AIs. Yeah, he's kind of a he's a YouTuber who does scam baiting. Although it might be a legitimate, appointment with a doctor. I can't imagine why they would call late at night. No, you have people, claiming to be, working for Windows, in a heavy, Indian accent, and I'm like, nah, get out of here. Yeah, it's not, yeah. They're like, we totally work for Windows, and, we're totally, here to do tech support and all that. Yeah, I'm like, nah, get out of here. Yeah, my mom almost got scammed by, into giving, somebody like that some Google Play cards. So I kind of had to stop her from doing that, so I kind of teach her not to do that. Don't worry though, she only did it like once, and she only did it like the one time, so she got kind of wise to it after that. Which is pretty nice of her. Although it does kind of remind me of, somebody pretending to be, IRS and, threatening my stepdad with jail time, that one time. He almost fell for it, but when they kept changing but he was kind of, getting sus of it because, wait a minute, you're like changing the amount of money on me, and you're kind and you kind of aren't providing any proof, and I've received nothing about this. And he kind of, called up the legitimate IRS, but, kind of a different issue, and, they were like, nah, that's a scam. Yeah, even if I didn't always get along with my stepfather, he was at least, smart enough, to do that. I wish, although he was the same guy who, believed Ancient Aliens was, actually teaching unironic true information, though. But I can look back on that and laugh. I mean, obviously, Ancient Aliens is not real information at all. But the History Channel has been, it used to start off as legitimate information, then, it started, doing all those, bad dude with the mustache regime, conspiracies about how they're, like, super advanced but never actually implemented any of the super advanced stuff. And, then they started, basically doing tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, and, of course, Ancient Aliens, as well as, doing reality TV. We did used to watch a lot of Pawn Stars. Yeah. Although my stepfather always was saying, that the people in Pawn Stars were definitely scamming people out of their stuff, really. I kind of can agree with that, unfortunately. I mean, I can understand that it's a business, but, it kind of seems like you're looking for a big deal. Yeah, that was kind of back before, he kind of, had to be hooked to oxygen, after getting out of a coma, and, he would eventually, pass away because, because of that, unfortunately. Yeah, it's been rough. Yeah, it's been a lot quieter around here, though, ever since, he died, though. No, yeah. It kind of reminds me, we used to watch Steve Irwin together back when he was on. No, I'm sorry to hear that, yeah. Yeah, it's been quite a few years, so it's okay, but thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Kind of reminds me, we kind of also used to watch a lot of, yeah, we used to watch Steve Irwin when he was on. He always thought that, Steve Irwin messing around with, all those animals was, a little bit too dangerous. And unfortunately, Steve Irwin did get, kind of stung by a stingray. And the funny thing about that, on one of the episodes, they were like saying stingrays are normally super peaceful and chill and all that. Yeah, unfortunately, Steve Irwin got stabbed through the heart by a stingray. Although, Steve Irwin was also, a really cool dude, though. He was always a really cool dude, though. I always got a kick out of him doing it. Even though I would definitely not go out and handle wild animals now. I mean, props on Steve Irwin for being able to wrestle big giant crocodiles and all that. But I don't think I would be brave enough to do that. Of course, Endamani would actually do that. Endamani, though, one of her villains is kind of based on alligators and alligator snapping turtles. That's the power of Australia. Yeah, Steve Irwin was definitely a different breed, yeah. Definitely very Australian. Of course, we all know that Australia's not real. Actually, I'm just kidding about that. I'm just kidding. That's a common conspiracy theory that, that's a common, haha, funny, fake conspiracy theory. Sort of like birds not being real. Although, birds are not real, bats are the only ones that are real. He's like the Australian Florida man. Yeah, that's kind of how I would describe, Steve Irwin if I were to describe him. He is like Australian Florida man. At least that's how he kind of portrayed himself in it. That's kind of how he portrayed himself in the show. But in truth, he was a lot cooler than that. He did do a lot to, kind of advance the cause of animals, like, for real. Way better than, PETA ever did. Yeah, I really don't like PETA. Yeah, PETA, they've always been kind of involved in, actual legit, criminal activity and, kind of, dunking paint on people and, being like, fur is murder, meat is murder, blah, 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 blah. And they also released that one, Pokemon fan game. They also released their weird Pokemon fan game where they, were basically... They also released that one weird Pokemon fan game. Oh wait, I have head flail. Alright, whoops, I got distracted while my talking, got to level 10. Yeah, I think I might have, gone on a little too long, unfortunately. Alright, now, I think we're more than ready to fight Vapar at, level 10. I got distracted by all my talking while grinding. It's good to talk while grinding, yeah. It's very chill. Hey, it's Jeeble, and look at that. There's Creamery. In the lore, Creamery equivalent would probably be Sariel. Funny enough, Bloodstained also has Sariel in it. He's like in Curse of the Moon, too.
How does it not? After all,
So how's the Steam Deck? Oh, it's going real well. Yeah, I'm currently playing on it right now. Yeah, in fact, I did play Lunar. In fact, I'm also playing Lunar on it. And I also played Henry Stickmin Collection yesterday on it.
You told me our power doesn't make us good or bad.
Yeah, in my case, I got corrupted by a demonic shard and became a succubus, but, our power, still makes us good. I mean, Miriam still seems to have a mind of her own, so, she doesn't mind the corruption too much. At least it hasn't fully corrupted her. You have no choice but to absorb shards and fail yourself in the powers of hell. Yeah, very edgy. Miriam's powers definitely are, a nod to, of course, Soma's, power dominance. Red Moon, I don't like that. Get the Red Moon out of here. I sent your friend request on Steam? Yeah, I already got it. So don't worry. Don't worry, I already got it. Alright, Vapar, he used one. Alright, Vapar is one ugly, one ugly monster, not gonna lie. Yeah, Vapar is, one ugly, monster, not gonna lie. And of course he's got tentacles, why would he not? The fact we have a magical girl costume and the first boss is a tentacle monster is, not lost on me. Yeah. Alright, luckily Vapar is, very easy with Succubus costume because Succubus costume, gives you a whole big strength buff. And what we get for it is the power to, summon tentacles. Something that a Succubus definitely would use. Definitely something a Succubus would use.
I saw it.
Alright, I'm just joking a little bit. But, seriously, yeah, they would use that. If I were ever making a Succubus character and they were, like, super evil and, also, like, a sexy seductress and everything, they'd probably use tentacles as one of their true arts. Should I actually make that? Probably not, but, it would be a pretty funny character, so. I can just base their abilities on all the, weird DeviantArt fetishes I've, seen over the years. Hey, wait, wait, the game? Yeah, why are we on the black screen? Wait, why are we on a black screen? Did something go wrong? Did something go wrong? I think something might have gone wrong. Alright, hold on while I exit the game. I think something may have gone wrong. Alright, I think something might have gone wrong a little bit. Hold on while I restart the game. Alright, I did save at the save point, so it wouldn't be a big deal, beat Vapar again. Alright, it won't be a big deal to beat Vapor again. Let's just hope that, let's just hope that Bloodstained, decides to cooperate with me this time. Alright, now. Alright, now, let's go kick Vapor's butt again. And this time, hopefully everything will cooperate this time. Alright, I'll obviously, skip the cutscene because we already seen it. Alright, watch out for the tentacle. Alright, watch out for the water bomb. Alright, oh, whoops. Ran right into the head. Now watch out for the water bombs. Oh wait, Alright, they're going here, which means they're gonna be nice and easy to do big damage to. Alright, now, and yeah, oh, thank you for calling me cute, but I'm not cute. No, thank you for calling me cute, but I'm not cute. I literally have the body of a pig. I literally have the body of a pig. I literally have the body of the pig in the face of a Discord mod.
I saw it.
Alright, there we go. Now it's cooperating. Alright, now it's cooperating. And of course it does. Alright, anyway, it's a long time no see, Anu. Hey, Cinemax Sith, nice to see you again. But I'm not cute, alright? Me being cute is, fake news and misinformation that's spread by, that's spread by Illuminati Night. Yeah, it's spread by supervillains, yeah. Yeah, it's literally spread by, it's spread by, the evil news organization, SIN. They're acting on Illuminati's orders. Yeah, it's spread by the Great Evil Talking Head. Yeah, he's a legitimate villain in the lore, by the way, yeah. He's the leader of, SIN. Which is an evil news organization that was trying to take over the media dimension. Yeah, they were kind of a separate villain from, Dark Shovel, who's kind of doing the same thing, and he was kind of, an evil game executive who, was, was trying to take over, the part of the media dimension known as Game World. Yeah, video games are part of the media dimension, by the way.
I'm sorry we couldn't get it.
So this is
Yeah, so church sent me. Oh, boy, you sexy nun.
The church sent me.
Wait, aren't I a succubus?
And we're lucky to
I can assure you this is just corruption. It's only temporary. And then I just got a power, to summon tentacles. But that doesn't mean I'm an evil succubus now.
Yes, there's no mistake. I find it curious.
It doesn't mean I'm an evil succubus now.
All right, it is true.
Oh, I asked you to bring me here. I have
I know, and I kid, but
I have to. Thank you.
I kid about that.
There.
But if I were making a succubus character and one of them be like a salacious, seductress or whatever, maybe I could make them sort of, have polyamorous personality and their true arts would be based on, kind of a lot of, weird, deviant fetishes. And she'd be very unhappy every time she would cast it, yeah. Or every time, yeah, and she would have to deliver those dreams for whatever reason. Yes, she needs energy to sustain herself or something. Yeah, maybe it could be one. Wait. Maybe Astardia is making her, maybe Astardia is, making her do that, Astardia is already an evil love goddess who would probably, order her servants to do that. And maybe they could be trying to redeem themselves after they basically got corrupted and, turned into a succubus, after being a minor love deity or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of how succubuses work in the lore. Also, they're kind of, also succubuses are kind of also eldritch in nature, yeah, since they're kind of associated with celestials and all that. Since, they're basically a celestial. Not a good celestial, by the way. Yeah, traditional succubuses would not be a good celestial by any means, but, definitely, they would be a celestial, though. Not one of the good ones, though. One of the evil ones. Yeah, you guys know what I'm saying. I mean, what do you suppose all the enemies in this game are? They're demons. Anyway, nice to see you again, Cinemax Sith. Alright, now watch out for giant rants. Giant rants! Oh no! That kind of reminds me of that one Yu-Gi-Oh! That kind of reminds me of Eradicate. Yeah, Eradicate. I don't know. I kind of like how, you know, Eradicate went to Alola and decided I'm gonna become the Godfather. Likewise. You know, rats. That rat. You know, the giant rat is nowhere near as big as the ones in New York City. It's only like a tenth of the size. I mean, rats in New York City are basically like dogs. You know, dogs that can, you know, that can shoot through concretes and, you know, like to shoot wires and, you know, and can, you know, chew holes through drywall and all that. But, you know, kind of like dogs. Especially the ones that are living deep in the sewer living deep in the sewer with, you know, the alligators, you know, predating on them. You know, the reason why there's alligators in the sewers is because, you know, yeah, it's because, you know, they used to sell alligators as pets. Ow. Giant rat. Giant rat. Ow. Yeah, they used to sell alligators as, like, pets. Yeah, until they realized, you know, alligators are kind of a dangerous thing to keep as a pet. Yeah, basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get cheese. Yeah, I need, like, 4 cheese. Yeah, I need, like, 4 cheese, like I need 4 cheese, you know, raviolis. Yeah, 4 cheese. Alright, we need 4 cheeses for a pizza. Yeah, what kind of 4 cheeses do you want on your pizza, by the way? You want a little Parmesan, right? Yeah, you want some extra cheese, yeah. Extra cheese. Yeah, that's what I get on my pizza, yeah. Kind of reminds me, I'm kind of in a program where I, you know, you spend points that I build up on credit cards so I can get, you know, some gift cards, such as, you know, getting some for a pizza joint every now and again. Yeah, it's kind of a way, it's kind of a little bit of a way to get a little bit of free pizza, I guess. Well, I mean, I still have to kind of spend money to... We still have to kind of spend money to, you know, actually get the points, though. Alright, now. Yeah. Yeah, look at those bones. Them dry bones. Yeah. Thirsting bones is dry, so very dry. You know, it kind of reminds me of Mario. It's a me, Mario! You know, dry bones. Yeah, it kind of reminds me, you know, that in the Mario movie, you know, Bowser's Lair, you know, was very much full of, you know, undead Koopas and, you know, booze and all that. You know, kind of makes me, yeah, I kind of wonder where, you know, but I kind of wonder how you know, Bowser became obsessed with Princess Peach, but, you know, Princess Peach seems like a very lovely lady. I can see why, you know, a giant fire-breathing evil turtle man would, you know, be very obsessed with her. I mean, it's kind of the same dynamic that, you know, Popeye, Bluto, and, you know, and, you know, Popeye, Bluto, and Olive Oil have, yeah. The fact, you know, it's kind of based on, you know, the fact Mario is kind of based on them, yeah. Alright, now I just needed to buy 4 cheese. I did look around here, but this place seems secure.
And this place.
Yes.
Johannes.
Alright, now.
And I will remember.
Don't we feel like she gets trained in combat? You know, Johannes is an alchemist, but he doesn't know how to make bombs, unfortunately. He does know how to make more support items, though. That's kind of more what he deals in. He probably, you know, swore off, you know, using alchemy as a weapon. For, you know, he's kind of swore off using alchemy as a weapon because, you know, the Alchemy Guild, you know, they were really, really bad people, yeah. They're like the baddest of people, yeah. You know, they kind of, you know, did human sacrifices to basically summon a demon castle. You know, the first time around, which kind of resulted in, you know, this, you know, new incident with a demon castle. I think it might be a... Oh, I can upgrade head flail. Well, I do want to make heads roll. Well, I do want heads to roll a little bit.
Once I'll do my but when it comes to
Alright, now.
Also, the demon crystal you've obtained, each shard requires
Yes, I already know how to do all this. Alright, eating new food for the first time will give, you know, Miriam a permanent stat boost. You know, only if you eat food for the first time, though. Oh, I might as well pick up the Waystone. I will be needing that later for a side quest. Plus, you know, Waystones are always good to find. Alright, now we took the Miriam and she shut up shop.
Since this
I like, alright, Miriam, alright, Dominique, you know, looks very sexy right now, yeah.
I would have liked
Alright, yeah, I can kind of dig a sexy nun.
Oh, I understand.
I'm kind of having, you know, unholy thoughts about, you know, sexy nuns.
You may want to keep that one more important.
Which I'm sure if we were, you know, if we were a succubus, we'd be delivering all that.
I think that explains what you learned to learn.
No, no, no. Get the dirty thoughts out of here, no.
I know.
No, they're trying to corrupt me. They're trying to corrupt me. Good, pure, magical girl, you don't want to be corrupted by that kind of thing, no. No, I don't want to be corrupted by that third thing. No, no, no. No, no. Alright, now.
You there.
Dead, most of them, my dear husband included.
Most of them. Those devils.
All right, now.
If it's... Oh, that... Well...
Alright, now. By the way, the reason why Miriam has all those crystals on her body, it's because, you know, the crystals are actually kind of embedded into her flesh. Yeah, which means that's probably very painful for Miriam to kind of deal with. You know, I imagine, you know, having crystals constantly inside your flesh is, you know, not very, you know, pleasant, unfortunately. Especially when they're attuned to, you know, the powers, and especially when they're attuned to, you know, something as chaotic as, you know, powers of as, you know, demons. Well, at least I can, you know, deliver this one, since it just requires a tunic. Alright, we need a ring, which we can get from one of the side quests. Oh yeah, over here, we might as well, Oh well, since we just got some rice, we can probably go back and make some rice balls with it. So I will grow potato for now. And I will grow some corn for later, so I can get some corn chowder. Alright. What do you say? Yeah, alright, rice, yeah, rice. Yeah, I want to get some rice balls, yeah. I want to get some, rice balls, yeah. Let's see what I need for rice. Alright, I got all the ingredients I need for rice balls, but I know there's a couple other things I can get. I know there's a couple other things we can get too. Alright, I will get a couple other things too. Yeah, we need rice balls. Yeah, rice balls. Otherwise, rice balls. I mean, we're going to get Brock's jelly-filled donuts. Yeah, yeah. These jelly-filled these jelly-filled donuts are great. Nothing beats a jelly-filled are my favorite. Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut.
So, what do you need?
Alright, now. Alright, now let's make oh, hey, look, it's Brock's jelly-filled donuts. No, wait. Cooked rice shaped in a portable snack that you'll feel the peckish. Yeah, these are definitely, you know, a donut, you know, what we're being made with rice and salt. You know, those are definitely, you know, ingredients that you put into a donut, right? Yeah, definitely. I'm sure it's definitely that, and, you know, nothing else.
Great. I'll go with this.
Alright, now. Oh, we can make some butter. We can make some butter. We can make some butter. We can make bread. Well, gotta get that bread. Make some Chinese noodles. We can make some red bean pasta. We can make some soda water. Alright, now, what else can we make? I need egg and flour. We need egg and flour. Alright, and... let's see, what else do I need? Oh, if I get flour, baking soda, and sugar, I can make manju. Alright, I will Alright, for manju, we need flour, baking soda, and sugar. Flour, baking soda, sugar. I need flour and egg. Alright, now. We're gonna be doing a little bit of shopping, yeah.
The alchemists with the guild, so they want to get, but people...
Yeah, the alchemists were kind of, you know, a little bit greedy. Yeah, they decided, you know, how bad could we be? We're just building the economy. Well, you see, there's a principle of nature that everybody knows. It's called survival of the fittest, and this is how it goes. You guys remember that. I, however, am more of a fan of biggering. I gotta be honest, I'm more of a fan of biggering myself. I'm more of a fan of, the song Biggering.
So,
Yes, I'm biggering, the biggering is triggering. The biggering is triggering, more biggering.
oh,
Alright now, we might find traces of the Alchemist Guild inside the castle.
yes.
Alright now.
All right.
Alright now, I want to make manju. I need to make that manju. Yeah, manju. It kind of reminds me of, when I was playing NG and, one of the characters, got me some manju to kind of offer to one of the spirits.
Nothing to buy.
Of course, it turned out to be, that was kind of a bad idea to try.
Thank
So she was more obsessed with heads. Mainly cutting heads off of basically anything that had a head. Including people. Yeah, she was kind of, a,
Transmuting this time.
she was kind of a very terrifying, giant child, if I'm going to say that, quite honestly.
And she
Yeah, I believe she had, some sort of giantism before she died. She was kind of killed by being tied to a tree after she kind of cut down one of, a special tree, for the village, and, they kind of took that thing, they kind of took it a little too far and, kind of killed her. Unfortunately, and, that kind of resulted in their other tree dying. Yeah, they were kind of cruel, right? Yeah, a lot of things in NG and, the Deathmark games are very, very cruel, if I'm going to be honest, as well as, Undernuts. And they're definitely, and those games are definitely not afraid, touch on things that, would, traditionally get you canceled on Twitter. If I'm gonna be, 100% completely honest. Alright, something irresistible. Alright, we need to get her a pizza. Alright, now. Alright, now, one of our first missions in this game, we need to kill Mortes. Alright, now, I kinda need to get, I kinda wanna try to get another giant, let's see, do I have giant rat? No, I do not have giant rat. I kind of want to get the giant rat shard if I can. Alright, now. Luckily, I only need to kill... Wait, do we have that quest? Wait, do I have the quest active? No, we need to kill Mortes. Yeah, we need to kill the regular Diet Mortes, so I thought, hey, why not kill the one that, requires me killing a big giant rat? Yeah, the big giant, pint-sized, New York City rat. And it's like the baby version of the New York rat. Yeah, you think that's a big rat. Yeah, kind of. Although, what would you do? Oh wait, there's a shard. All right, there's a shard I was looking for. Nice. We can now summon the baby New York rats. We can now summon rats that are, that are only slightly smaller than, the New York rat. Oh wait, I need to kill one more Morte. Alright, now I'm pretty sure that quest is done. Alright, that'll get us the rings, which we can turn into this lady. Alright, now, yeah, New York. Yeah, kind of reminds me of kind of reminds me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Baxter Stockman pretended to, be solving the rat problem, in New York by unleashing a bunch of, evil killer robots into the sewers. That were called Mousers. Yeah, in fact, I should probably make something, kind of based on, Mousers, but, kind of legally distinct Mousers. Maybe I can base them more on, Mousetrap. The board game. You guys remember the board game I'm talking about, right? I remember him and them, yeah. Yeah, he kind of unleashed them in the sewers, and they were chasing around the turtles and trying to kill them. Yeah, in fact, I believe that in the, NES version of, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there was like a giant Mouser that was one of the bosses. If I remember correctly. I definitely remember. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to, get side quests over here. Alright, we need to kill dual hammers. Oh well, that means we'll have to go back to the ship for just a little bit, but That means we'll have to go back to the ship for just a little bit, but that's okay.
Kill those.
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was really cool, you know. You know, from what I vaguely remember of it. You know, I was mostly a fan of, you know, I was mostly a fan of, you know, 2012 version of them. Yeah, and then there was that weird spin-off where they kind of, you know, went into the future. And then they would inevitably go back in time, and they even had an episode where they crossed over with, you know, the 80s turtles. Yeah, that episode was not very good. Yeah, I you know, vaguely remember the 80s one as well. But, you know, I was kind of at the tail end of that. I remember having a book long ago that, you know, there was kind of some these mechanical bugs that, you know, made different sounds that were kind of on them, kind of like when you push a button. It was kind of, you know, very old. Yeah, I don't really have that anymore because, you know, I kind of, you know, moved out of location, you know, that was, you know, being kept in. Oh, nice tomatoes. We could always use a little bit more tomato. You know, people used to grow tomatoes, you know, ornamentally. You know, they used to think that tomatoes were actually, you know, poisonous. I mean, to be fair, there are other plants that, you know, resemble tomatoes that are actually deadly poisonous. Or, you know, are said to be deadly poisonous, but aren't really. Let's see, there's like, nightshade plants. Yeah, of course you got your deadly nightshade, of course, and there's also other, you know, variants of nightshade. There's also one that's like super poisonous, but can also, you know, make you trip balls. Yeah, that's called like belladonna. Wait, isn't belladonna just deadly nightshade? Yeah, belladonna. There's also a very different, you know, a very different, you know, sort of tomato-like plant that, you know, is called black nightshade. That, you know, people think is like super poisonous, but isn't. You know, I actually had, you know, black nightshade, and, you know, I basically survived and, you know, didn't trip balls. Yeah, so black nightshade is very safe to eat. Kind of reminds me, I did see a nightshade plant, you know, long ago that, you know, had a yellow berry, and, you know, I was like, you know, should I eat this? And then I looked it up, and I was like, nah, that's actually poisonous. Yeah, some of those nightshade plants, you know, have very tempting looking very tempting fruits that, you know, are kind of, you know, forbidden fruits, unfortunately. You know, technically speaking, I guess we could put that under forbidden snacks, although, you know, forbidden snacks usually are, you know, things that are inedible. So I can't see why, you know, poisonous plants wouldn't be, you know, put on that. I mean, in a way, that's kind of a forbidden snack that you can eat. You know, only once, though. Although in the case of some of the nightshade plants, that's kind of only once. You know, as it were. Oh boy, I think I remember... Right now, I definitely remember... Oh yeah, you can crash through that, yeah. And over here is actually a really good item. It's the 8-bit coin. Yeah, the 8-bit coin is, you know, probably one of the best items in the entire game. 8-bit coin is probably one of the best things you can find this early in the game, basically. And I will show you exactly why. Now, this site is, you know, very cool and all, but, you know, I'm kind of missing a weapon from, you know, Magical Girl Past. You know, that would, could be used for Eve. That could be, you know, could be, you know, a very deadly tool of use for Eve. If, you know, used in the hands of a corrupted succubus. That could be a deadly tool of use, and, you know, by a very corrupted succubus. Oh, wait, oleanders. Oh, yeah, boots are very good. Oleanders are kind of slightly toxic. Alright, prismatic hearts. Alright, prismatic hearts is actually very good. Actually, you know what? Since we're doing a succubus and we want to be like a step on me, dummy mommy, I want to, you know, equip the oleanders. I'll equip the Holy Landers.
Oh, you're...
Now that way I can kick enemies. That way I can kick enemies in the face. That way I can. That way we can. That way we can actually step on enemies. That way we can step on enemies and dominate them. Yeah, once we get double jump, we'll be doing kick bounces on lots of enemies. Yeah, I can kick enemies real fast. Yeah, we can just kick them. Yeah. Let's dominate enemies by kicking them in the face. Yeah, kick the enemies in the face. Yeah. Very good way to dominate people. You know, if DeviantArt taught me anything, it's, you know, people like that sort of thing. And I write my lore on only the most professional websites. I mean, to be fair, I do know, DeviantArt reputation, but they're probably, probably the best art site to, basically do whatever you want on. Because they'll basically let you do whatever you want on it. Why, if you want to spam this website with a bunch of, AI art and call yourself an artist, you can definitely do that on DeviantArt. Because the standards there are so low. Because that's how, very, very bad the standards are on that site. But yeah, I've definitely seen my fair share of, finish art on there. Even when I'm not looking for it. Yeah. Kick him in the face. Come on, kick him in the face. Yeah, make him toxic. Alright. Yeah, Succubus would probably, use something that gives him a little bit of a toxic advantage. That's very fast. That's also a very fast weapon. That's also a decently fast weapon. Now you're alright now. Alright, kick him in the face. Yeah, kick him in the face. Yeah, we do have a little bit lower attack power, but we'll be able to deal with bats pretty easily. Yeah, I think we'll be fine, when we fight bats, which are gonna be kind of a bit of a headache, otherwise. Yeah, bats are gonna be a little bit of a headache, when using the scythe, because the scythe is a little bit slow, which is a little bit unfortunate. Oh yeah, I should show you a little secret. Yeah, there's stuff above the bridge. There's an HP up and an MP up there. Yeah, I'm just gonna show you that real quick. Oh, nice. Nice that they keep the secrets up the bridge. Sort of like, that kind of reminds me of, older Castlevania games. The first Castlevania game I ever played was, Symphony of Night. Yeah, my cousin Mark, my cousin Mark used to have a PS1, and he used to play Symphony of Night. He kind of still really likes that game. Kind of likes to play it his way though. Can't blame him though. Yeah, he really likes Castlevania in that series. I'm the one that kind of told him about Bloodstained. Said, hey, it's kind of made by the people that made Castlevania. Yeah, but I gave him Bloodstained. I did give him Bloodstained and also Curse of the Moon 1 and 2. Because I wanted him to have that. Yeah, so, alright. Alright, this enemy is gonna be a little bit tough. Now that Sebnok. Yeah, it kinda reminds me. Oh yeah, that kinda reminds me of that Demon School anime. The one with that really sweet art kid that, is having a time of his life in hell. Yeah, his parents, were kind of, real scumbags and kind of traded his soul to a devil. Yeah, ironically enough, that's kind of the best thing his parents could have done for him, really. It's kind of like if you sold your firstborn, if you sold your firstborn to a fairy, and it turned out, it didn't actually suck for that firstborn, and they had an actual happy life. In fact, I might do something. In fact, I don't see why I couldn't make a story like that. Why, I could even have it be like the secret origin story of Oberon in the lore. I don't see why I can't do that. Speak straight. I don't see why you couldn't do that. I don't see why I couldn't do that. I know, kick the bat in the face, yeah. Kick the bat. Kick the bat. Yeah, we're kicking bats in the face. Oh no, Inamai's kind of, kind of murdering your kin again. No, poor bats. Yeah, I do not like how bats, are portrayed as villains constantly in video games. That is, some anti-bat propaganda. Bats are cool and amazing creatures, and we're not evil. We're not evil. We're not evil. I know that vampire bats, are a thing, but we're not evil. I mean, vampire bats are a parasite, and just very edgy members of our family. Yeah. And parasites are basically, just as valid a predator as, lions and tigers and bears. They're just slightly less impressive, of course. they're just less impressive. Because most parasites are, gross things like, worms and, leeches and all that. and little ticks. Vampire bats, are kind of a whole parasite. Oh. If I'm gonna be honest. Also, I will be grinding Alchemist. Besides, vampire bats, also serve as inspiration for Dracula. And, Dracula's very cool. Dracula, being one of the best, Dracula being a really cool villain to basically use however you want. Since, he's open source. Since, I don't think the Bram Stoker family will complain too much if I don't think Bram Stoker is still, I think the copyright on Dracula, kind of ran out a long time ago. Unfortunately. I know, like, the copyright law in, the US is kind of, ridiculously long for anything. But I think, things like Cthulhu and Dracula are definitely, way past that. Yeah, I think Disney probably would have gotten an extension on, that copyright if, Republicans didn't, drink the whole, Disney brainwashing and poisoning our kids, and poisoning our kids or whatever. Which is not good reason for them, and, don't get me wrong, I don't like that kind of thing, but, if it stops Disney, but it did kind of, stop Disney from, getting an extension on their copyright, ironically enough. Even if it's for wrong reasons, I guess I can appreciate that. So we now have Steamboat Willie. Although I still say that, US copyright laws, really goes on for way too long. No, a lot of interesting... No, Steamboat Willie being a big thing that came off. Although, ironically enough, the Peter Pan play did come off too. Hey, you can do whatever you want with the play now. You can use elements of the play if you really want to now. Alright, now. And hey, yeah. Hey, the more Disney properties that get off copyright, the better. Although Disney, probably should be less stringent about copyright, considering that, all their stories are basically stolen from other cultures. At least their classic ones are. And that's kind of how they rose to power in the first place. I kind of wish, Disney was, still doing, 2D animation and, actually making good movies. Don't get me wrong, they still make decent movies every now and again, but, some of their recent movies are like, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? That's not gonna work. I don't know what they're thinking with those live-action remakes. I hear they're, like, putting a pause on that, though. Which I'm like, thank you, please stop, remaking movies, please, and just make, actual good movies. Please stop remaking things, but making them worse, and, just actually make good movies. In fact, animation is pretty much the only thing you should be doing. Alright now. Oh, heretical grinder, we already got one of those. I still don't have a ghost shard though. Alright, come on, ghost shard. Wait, do we have a ghost shard? Oh wait, I do have a summon ghost. Alright, how many alchemists do I have? Alright, just let me check on that real quick. Oh, we only have 7. Yeah, I kinda need 9 for them for what I have in mind. Yeah, what I have in mind is, you get these Uni Rice Bowls, from one of the early quests in the game, and, Uni Rice Bowls are like a really good healing item and all that, but, it's kind of difficult to get them, in the store. Sure, and occasionally a live-action film, not the live-action remakes, of course. Yeah, some of their live-action stuff is, good, but, not any of their live-action remakes. Not any other live-action remakes, mind you. Their live-action remakes are kind of hot dog water. They started off kind of good, and then they started, and then they thought, hey, why don't we give Maleficent and, Cruella de Vil, actual sympathetic backstories to try and make them seem like better people than they actually were in the movies? And I'm like, no, just let villains be evil. Yeah, I don't understand why people have this idea that, villains need sad backstories, that justify their actions. I mean, lots of bad people, come up with sad backstories to justify their actions. Doesn't mean, it's true. It kind of reminds me, that kind of reminds me of how the Joker kind of manipulated Harley Quinn. If I'm gonna be, completely honest. Yeah, yeah, in the Batman animated series, you see, there was this episode where Harley Quinn decided to capture Batman and, try to hang him over a piranha tank, upside down to make him seem like they're smiling at him. And, she was going on about, how she met the Joker, and, he basically sold her a big sob story that turned out not to be true, about him being basically abused as a father and wanting to bring laughter to the world. Which I'm sure, shooting people and, poisoning them and, making them literally die laughing is, definitely all part of the fun and amusement. Although considering Joker's relationship with Harley Quinn and, some of the more darker aspects of it, I can kind of see why, they moved Harley Quinn to basically be her own thing, really. Yeah, I can kind of see why, they turned her into more of an anti-hero. Yeah, it's, I kind of like both versions of her now. The anti-hero one, believe it or not, does have good aspects to it. It's just that it's not good when she's basically acting like Deadpool. It's just not good when she's, basically being, heavily discounted Deadpool. In my opinion. Yeah, that's just my opinion, though. Sorry, I sometimes get a little bit, too critical of things. And I think that may not resonate with everybody. And that's okay, yeah. And that's okay, as long as it's not something objectively wrong, people are allowed to have whatever opinion they want. And when it comes to anything from fantasy and superheroes and all that, that's very much falls under D more you can believe whatever you want about it sort of thing. Although I do kind of wish there was a world where people really could get along with their ideals instead of clashing with each other all the time. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Fire Emblem Three Houses, where there was some slight cooperation on that, but it kind of quickly devolved because Edelgard was very much against the church, and because they were kind of run by the the alien dragons. The alien dragons, which get revealed to be alien dragons, and the Golden Deer route, which is why Golden Deer route is the best route. Although the Golden Deer route was, although Golden Deer, was very neutral and, during while everything else was happening. I honestly, could it mind her breaking the fourth wall? The problems is her fourth wall breaking isn't funny? Yeah, unfortunately, it's not quite as funny as Deadpool. Although it is much funnier when, Lord Deathman does it. Yeah, fourth wall breaking is much funnier when, Lord Deathman does it, just not with Harley Quinn, unfortunately. I kind of preferred, as your moon route. Yeah, as your moon route is, very good. Yeah, William the Alchemist, he really likes the Azure moon route. I kind of don't blame him. Dimitri is really good in that route. I don't blame you. Dimitri goes through quite a good character arc in that. I would probably say if I were to pick a worse route and Fire Emblem Three Houses, it's definitely Edelgard's route. I mean, Edelgard is basically the I want to commit unapologetic war crimes arc. Alright now. Though I feel that I like Golden Deer route is the true one. Considering Fire Emblem Engage, Golden Deer route is the canon route, yeah. Alright, and there's Alfred, him from, Curse of the Moon 1. I should replay Curse of the Moon 1 and, Curse of the Moon 2. Yeah, I would like to play Curse of the Moon 2 only for Sario alone. And also, Curse of the Moon 2 also has that, sexy butterfly lady that's on that couch. That's actually, an evil fungus, pulling illusion magic on you. Yeah, unfortunately, Alfred is, a very experienced, alchemist who's kind of, not the best person. I mean, alright, he was not a really good person a long time ago, yeah. Although it's kind of later revealed that he's not really that bad of a guy, really. Alright now, Alright, how much money do I have? Oh, not enough. Yeah, I do not have enough money. Oh well, there's lots of bats. We're bats. We're the bats. Alright, we have one of these demon dogs down here. Alright, good thing it's vulnerable to poison. Yeah, the Oleanders just have a little bit of a toxic edge to them. Yeah, alright, I don't think I need a Grime Sabnock. Although I probably do want to try to, get the Jeeble glasses, though. I will probably do that off camera, though. I'll do that off camera. I'll probably do that off camera. Oh, whoa. Alright, we appear to be dipping just a little bit. Alright, come on, stabilize for me. Oh, nice. Uh-oh, we got an archer coming at us. Oh, hey, old man Barbatos. Yeah, he's basically like an evil hunter. Yeah, some people kind of depict him sort of like that one hunter in, Jumanji. I'm kind of there for that. I'm kind of there for that design of him. That evil hunter in Jumanji, is also an inspiration for one of my villains, which is Lara G. Yeah. Unfortunately, Lara G is very much human. Lara G, however, in my lore, is very much human. Lara G in my lore is very much human, though. But he is very good at, setting traps and, sharpshooting. Unfortunately, he's kind of a little bit like Kraven the Hunter because, I really, really like Spider-Man. And he kind of, wants to hunt down superheroes, unfortunately. Yeah, when Endemoni, first met him, he was kind of, doing his own... Oh, wait, we got the pig soul. Nice. Yeah, when Endemoni first, met Lara G was basically, hunting the most dangerous game, which turned out to be man. And obviously, Inamani's not going to allow people to do that because, Inamani's a superhero and, kind of wants to stop people from doing that. And Liturgy, got super obsessed, but, I'm basically taking down Inamani, after that. Alright, now, come and get me. Yeah. Oh, wait, I have a quest to, slay Barbados. Alright, Plume Farmer. I definitely want to farm Plume Farmer later. I definitely want to farm Plume Farmer. I think I will save that for later. Oh yeah, I do need Moko oil from the Moko weeds. Whatever a Moko weed is. I mean, I wish the Moko weed shard in this game was actually good. Yeah, unfortunately, Moko weed is... Oh wait, Moko oil. Well, I need the Moko oil to make pizza. Hey, we need to make this pizza pie! Yeah, pizza. They're like one of my favorite foods. Pizza's, real good in this game. Yeah. Alright, oh, pig coming at me. Alright, kick him in the face. Do I feel the Golden Deer route is a true one? Yeah. Oh wait, I already read that. Oh wait, I already read that, didn't I? Oops. Alright, now, kick him in the face. Ow. Got stuck in the face with an arrow. That was pretty nasty, not gonna lie. Oh, alright, I got a couple shards from here. Alright, I'll try a couple. Alright, now kick him in the face. Now watch out. I wish, poison would proc more often. I kinda wanna, grind. I kinda wanna grind so, I can, I can really, so that I can really pick enemies when I kick them with poison. Yeah, might as well dominate the enemies. Right, maybe for this run I will allow, I will allow use of boots and whips and also the scythe, of course. Gotta reap those souls while they're sleeping. Very peacefully in, their pleasurable dreams. That we are, not really into giving. Yeah, humans have a bunch of disgusting requests for succubuses, and they're like, They're probably like, man, humans are some real freaks. Alright guys, what kind of sexy dream do you want from a succubus? Do you want maids, or tentacles, or, oh, feet? Please don't answer that. Please don't actually answer that. Alright, now, kick him in the face, yeah. Or perhaps you want to be stepped on. Or should I step on Yoni and, beat you with a whip? Oh wait, I got a pork cutlet, yeah. Oh wow, pork cutlets are kind of a rare drop. Alright now, if I get like, alright. I do want to get at least 4 of the, actually, maybe I won't grind for pork cutlets, but whoops. Ow. Alright, hold on for just a minute. Ow. Alright, hold on for just a minute. Hold on for just a minute, guys. Ow, ow, ow. Sorry, I have to stretch out for a little bit. Sorry, I'm a little stiff. Alright, now. Oof. Sorry about that. Alright, sorry about that. Let's get back to what we're doing. Alright, now, kick him in the face, yeah. Yeah, humans are some... Yeah, yeah, I wanted to... If succubuses were real, they probably, think humans are, like, real freaks. A bit like Plumeria a little bit. A bit like Plumeria a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't expect succubuses to probably actually even believe in love, really. Yeah, if I'm gonna be, 100% honest. I'd probably, be a little more positive if I were playing a magical girl in the magical girl outfit, to be honest. And not going on about risking things. Probably, dial it back for that. Alright, kick the... Alright, kick that pig in the face, yeah. Just like I kicked that one pig in the face, you know, when they asked me to deliver them, something called inflation. Yeah. Yeah, one time this weird human, asked me to deliver, something called Monster Girl inflation to them. Yeah, I decided, I'm gonna reap their soul and get rid of them because they're a freak. Though, considering, some of the other requests, it's a little... considering the rest of the requests, it's basically a Tuesday, really. Alright, maybe. Alright, now, just a little bit of a joke, really. Alright, maybe I'm saying too many such things, and we'll probably get clipped. Oh no, I really hope that doesn't happen. Alright, kick the dog in the face. Yeah, kick the dog in the face. No, that's mean. No, kicking dogs in the face is mean. Don't be like Pokimane. Don't be like Amaranth, tossing her cat. No. I mean, I know it's a demon attack dog, but really, still. Alright, kick the bad guy in the face, yeah. Alright, find healing items, nice. Well, that'll give me something to do before I, take on the boss. Oh wait, there is something else I forgot to do when taking on the boss, too. Oh no, whoa, there's kind of a train going on. Yeah, I kind of live not too far away from a train track. Yeah, it's kind of a whiles away, but not too far away, so you probably will hear the whistle every now and again. Yeah, kind of reminds me of, Thomas the Tank Engine. Alright, now. Nah, I can't do the theme. I don't think I remember it properly for that. Alright, now let's turn in another quest. Oh yeah, daily rights bowls are a must. I probably should have picked that up earlier. Alright, Brigandine, I kind of needed that one too. Alright, kind of needed the Brigandine. Oh wait, I should probably also prep other items that I know I'm gonna need. Alright, now let's make a Batwing scarf. Let's make bat wings. Alright, and I need to make a tea dress. Alright, now.
As I recall, he was a genius, but I have no respect.
Why not?
Because he fought against sacrificing you right to the final moment.
Wait, you fought against sacrificing him? Fought against sacrificing her? No. I mean, alright. So Alfred wasn't actually all that bad, really. Alfred wasn't all that bad, really.
I have some. What are you looking to buy?
Oh wait, alright, I forgot I can make pizza. I can do it for you. What? You can do what for me? No. Alright, no, I was kind of going on about some sussy things earlier, so, please don't pay it with mind. That's one of those theme songs that's stuck in my head for life. No, boy. Oh wait, we need to make pizza dough. Alright, what else do we need for pizza dough? Oh, we need flour and sugar, yeah. Alright, alright, now I need to make alright, I need to make alright, now. Alright, I need to make the pizza dough and then get myself some pizza. Yeah, we need to be like the Ninja Turtles with that pizza and, down a whole bunch of it. Alright, now. Alright, now, pizza time. Alright, now. And we need to be like Peter Parker with, pizza time. We need to be like Peter Parker. Then we're probably gonna get laughed at by James Jonas Jameson. There's actually an alternate Earth version of, James Jonas Jameson where he became a superhero. And was actually kind of a decent dude. Yeah, that version of, James Jonas Jameson is, known as Headline, yeah. Oh wait, I can make a fried egg. Alright, might as well make the fried egg. Oh yeah, and I also went ahead and got some alcohol because I wanted to, dismantle the, rice bowl. So, I could go around and, rebuild the rice bowl. Alright, that way I have a, open source, that way I have a free source of, getting soy sauce.
Tell me.
And, I have a Yoni Raisel. Sing the Thomas theme song?
I suppose
Yeah,
that
I...
makes sense.
Do. I don't think I can do it quite right. Do. Nope. Nope, I can't do it. I don't think I can quite do it justice, unfortunately. I don't quite remember it off the top of my head, sadly. I can vaguely remember it, but I don't think I can quite get it right. Alright, I will take some pizza, though, with me. Alright, we need to buy a few little pizza pies. Alright, and our luck level is high enough to where we're getting, slightly different coins.
It's good. So, what'll it be?
Alright, now let's make a pizza.
How with this?
Alright, I will have to, turn around and buy some pizza.
Because
I will have to turn around and buy pizza. Alright, pizza pie. Pizza time. Although that kind of reminds me of, the Super Mario Bros. Anime. Kind of reminds me of the Super Mario Bros. Show where they, where they made Mario very stereotypically Italian. Yeah, they kind of, if I'm gonna be honest, they kind of made him a little stereotypically Italian. Alright, I got Corvix glasses.
Is that it?
Alright, she's wanting fried potatoes. Alright, now, oh, wait. Alright, we got ourselves some, alright now. Alright, now we're gonna get ourselves some more pizza, which is gonna be really nice. Alright, we just need to turn to the Brigadine. Oh wait, I should probably check on my, probably check on, how things are going over here. Alright, we need to grow corn. Alright, I think we can make fried potatoes now. Or as, some people call them, fries. Alright, now we need to turn in the Brigandine.
Here's
Alright, we got ourselves some bonus pizza, which is pretty nice. Alright, and this is also why I, turned around and made, the bat wings, because I knew I needed to offer it to Abigail. And she gives us some chocolate cake, which I will save for later. And the next item I need is actually a sword that I can get from the cathedral, which is not that far away. Which is not too far away. Wait, do you have any new quests? No.
Here's what I've turned up.
No, you do not. Alright, now. Alright, alright, now. Alright, now, Alright, I think I can beat Sengetsu. Alright, I think I can beat Sengetsu, alright. I'll put on Plume Pharma and, what the hell? I'll put on Head Flail. I'll put on Plume Pharma and Head Flail. Alright, Plume Pharma usually is pretty big. Plume Pharma is always a good option in this game, really. Kind of one of the better directional shards in the game. As far as I think. Head Flail is also a decent red shard for basically most of the early game. Since, it's very easy to upgrade and, very easy to use. Very fast, too. Oh, wow. Alright, this demon dog is, giving me a little bit of an issue. Yeah, it seems a little bit less vulnerable to strike than, the Blood Grinder Knight. Oh, whoops. Alright, now let's try. Alright, I'll try to get the sword from the Blood Grinder Knight because I know he has one. Oh, we got a sword from, oh, we got a sword from the Demon Dog, which is pretty decent. Yeah, it's decent enough, but I think the Encrypted Orchid's a little bit better. I think the Encrypted Orchid you can get from that, 8-bit coin is a little bit better. Oh no, I ran. Alright, maybe I just need to crouch down and, kick the dog in the face. That seems like a bit of a low target. Alright, we got some iron, which is not too bad. We can sell that. Alright, now. Alright, come on, Blood Grinder Knight. I know you got that sword for me. Yeah, the Spiral Sword is actually really cool. Spiral Sword is actually very cool and, very much a torture weapon. Kinda, reminds me of that one mask in, the All Night Mask and, Majora's Mask, there's kind of lore on it, kind of being like a torture device to basically, keep people awake while you're interrogating them. And, back in the day when they were basically doing witch hunts and all that, you know, they used to, force people to basically stay awake for hours. Basically stay awake beyond, you know, what human limits can, you know, handle. And, you know, basically people would hallucinate. And, you know, they would basically use that as proof that people were witches, which is, you know, a very bad way of doing that. Obviously, they're very much tripping balls. Obviously, they're very much tripping balls on, you know, their dreams, but they really didn't care one way or another because they were, you know, not good people doing it. If I'm gonna, you know, put it out there. Oh, wait, we got the spiral sword. Nice. Cool, we got the spiral sword. Alright, now, like, show you how cool this spiral sword is. Wait, I got, like, 3 spiral swords. Where did I get those? Where'd I get 3 spiral swords? You're telling me I picked up a couple of those and you didn't notice? Oh, well, that's okay. Yeah, the spiral sword has the ability to basically hit enemies, like, multiple times in one hit. Kind of one of the better great swords you can get in the game, but, you know, it kind of has the weaknesses of being a great sword. But it can hit enemies multiple times, which is, you know, very good. Oh, very good against the demon dogs. Probably not a good weapon for Zangetsu, though. Alright, now I had my fun with the spiral sword. Alright, now, where are those Olelanders? Where are the Olelanders? Olelanders have, you know, very low attack, but, you know, the poison, you know, might help out a little bit with Zangetsu. Wait, can I even poison Zangetsu? I think he has resistance to that, doesn't he? Oh, yeah, I can sell that later. Wait, can I even poison Zangetsu? Oh, it's David Ader, it's Salt Snake. What Salt Snake? We already ran into Henry Stickmin. What are you doing here?
I knew what you are. That ghastly air about you. You reek of sorcery, Shardbinder.
And what am I to make?
Oh, look at this. He's all edgy. He's got chains. He's got a weeb stick. He's dressed in red and black. Oh, he's edgy. Alright, I like Zangetsu. He's edgy. Alright, I kind of like Zangetsu. He's a little edgy. Alright, he's poisoned. Oh no, stop throwing that. Alright, he's throwing 299s at me. Oh no, whoop! Alright, you can counter that. Oh, whoa, he's coming to get me. Ow. No, I ain't taking that there. Alright, go piggies. Oh, whoa. Alright, he's kind of kicking my butt a little bit. Oh wait, I should probably eat all the food that I picked up. Yeah, that might help me. That might help with my survivability just a little bit. Alright, that might help with my survivability just a little bit. No, I ain't taking that there. You can't trick me. Take that, you're poisoned now. Oh, watch out for the explosion. Oh, ow. Oh, he's going for the fire. He's going for a fiery explosion. Oh, whoa, watch out. Whoa, watch out. Ow. Nope, I ain't taking it there. I ain't, you're not doing this shit. I ain't doing it there. Alright, come and get me. Whoa, watch out. Ow, whoa. No, watch out. There we go, got him. Adversary purified.
Cease this at once, Zangetsu.
Oh.
How many times do I have to tell you? Our enemies are the demons.
What, so this is a regular occurrence for Zangetsu?
And I say, what is the difference? The alchemists were the gunmen. The Shardbinder's the gun.
Oh, he's edgy. I like him. Cut my life into pizza. This is my plastic fork.
In the case of the alchemists, you are right. They coveted the powers of hell. And
What are you talking about? You know, Johannes is a good alchemist. Yeah, Yomiya's a good alchemist.
Them.
You know, most of the characters in, in the Atelier games are good alchemists. Don't covet the powers of darkness.
Look is weak. Do your job.
Well, maybe some of the alchemists in, Yomiya are not good people. But, those are not Yomiya.
You can hold me to my word, Dominic.
Yeah, in fact, Yomiya has to really prove herself to be a good guy.
Pay it no mind. I want you to know that.
Oh, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for trusting me, Dominic.
Is a demon
I
hunter.
wish I could say the same for you.
Perhaps even longer. Demons robbed him of everything precious to him. His strength, however. I saw it for myself.
He was holding
I
back.
could tell he was.
He was, he was just doing it. He was just, warming up.
Well,
Oh, he was just warming up. He was holding back. He was holding back for no reason. Wait, why was he holding back if he hates Shardbinders so much?
raptious.
Alright, I will use one of the chocolate cakes.
Raptious.
I use one of the chocolate cakes so I can get a little bit of a luck boost. That might come in handy for, getting shards. Alright, I will come here and grab this. Uh-oh. Alright, we got some Amy's, on top of us. Alright, watch out for little Amy's. Oh wait, I forgot Amy's the other ghost. Wait, Amy's the other ghost, right, yeah. Wait, I have Legend of Zelda on the brain, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Poe sisters. Your quality is covered in all these strange... Paris is not in Spain, it's in France. Wait, then again, there are cities all over the world that are basically named after, other places, that are named after other places in the world. So maybe you might be thinking of that. But I think it might, considering Benjamin's, considering Benjamin isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, maybe he actually thought that. Yeah, he might got it from some sort of brain rot TikTok. Yeah, TikTok does really rot your brain. Alright, yeah, brain rot language is definitely, it's definitely its own unique language, I would say. Yeah, I don't even know I still don't know what even half the words of it mean. and that I think is pretty funny. Alright, kick the bad guys in the face. Oh, Sabnock. I don't know, Sabnock's kind of kicking my butt here. Oh, well, not kicking my butt too much. Alright, I will have to, grind Sabnock later because I haven't gotten a shard from him. Although his shard is basically for, short swords and, also clubs. I was considering, getting a magical girl one. Oh, hey, my Ordlanders came in handy. Alright, I will kick you in the face. Oh, beer. Alright, I kinda need Lioni's help so I can upgrade my Succubus costume. Oh, I got that. Alright, I got the painting shard. Nice. Man, I'm pretty sure the cathedral is the first place where I can upgrade my Succubus stuff. Alright, watch out for killer barbers. Yeah, the problem with killer barbers is they're quite fast. They're quite fast, so if you're using kind of a weapon that's a little bit, lacking in power, they can run up on you and do a little bit of damage. Not a lot, mind you, but they still do it. Oh yeah, portraits also are a source of, alchemists. So I will try to get, more alchemists later. Alright, I will have to grind on, those beers, though. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have an item, upgrades like this. Shortcuts, that's good. I don't know, watch out for killer barbers. Oh no, this lady right here is very dangerous. Basically, don't let her touch you, or you'll basically have your health and MP halved. Yeah, she's pretty dangerous. Yeah, she's a pretty dangerous enemy, if I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I already lost that much HP? Oof. I must really need a defensive upgrade. You know, considering that, I'm running around in, basically nothing. I think I might need a bit of a defensive upgrade. Hmm. Yeah, granted, in a world where, magic and, supernatural forces exist, you could come up with all sorts of reasons why, people can run around in bikini armors and be perfectly fine, with people having sharp swords and everything. Like, you could say that, and you could basically say it's enchanted or something. Which is kind of what I do. Which is basically what I do. I know. I gotta remember, she does try to grab you. Alright, yeah, poison. Yeah, that poison is coming in kind of handy. And I was kind of meaning saying, poison does give you kind of, a little bit of an edge to you. If you're playing something, kind of slightly edgy like a Succubus, you might want to use, your kit is gonna, consist of, some status moves, such as, inflicting sleep or fear or whatever. Or, using high-level illusion, or using decent-level illusion magic. Or, using attacks that basically drain life. Which is, what I think, it should probably use. Oh, yeah, dance mask. Alright, now, and I'm gonna go over here and grab the rose ring. Might as well grab that. Alright, over here is, the barber.
A demon!
Wait!
Oh, I remember this guy.
Butchers and
Todd.
cutthroats will say as much.
I'm not a cutthroat. I've never cut anyone. Well, I have, but it's these scissors.
Then why not cast them
aside.
Now,
And the only way my curse will be lifted is if I barber my way through 666 different hairstyles.
Well, why not just make the hairstyles up then?
There's a penalty for sloppy lopping. If I don't give my patrons good haircuts, the scissors kill them dead.
You have the worst.
now, I have a funny story about, Todd here.
That is not an.
That I'm gonna share with you real quick. You see, back when, the Killer Barber was revealed as an enemy on, Twitter, I kind of, and I was under my Sarah Speech account back then, I was kind of joking and saying, hey, is that like Sweeney Todd, is that like Sweeney Todd, and he was like the Killer Barber of Iga Street? Yeah, Iga himself said that. So I kind of like to think that, Todd here is, the result of, that conversation. Yeah. At least I like to think so. I'm pretty sure he probably already had it. Also, by the way, notice there's a picture of Dominique here for some reason. What's the deal with that? Why do you have a picture of Dominique? What is Dominique's picture doing in this castle? What's Dominique's picture doing in this castle? Why does Todd have that? That's kind of sus, not gonna lie. That's kind of sus, not gonna lie. Oh, and over here is a work point, which is pretty nice. Nice, we have a work point. Yeah, that's my story about, Todd the Killer Barber. Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of, yeah. I thought maybe he was always intending to reference, the Killer Barber, Sweeney Todd. At least I like to think so. Ooh. Alright, let me check real quick what I need for, the Succubus costume. Of course. Alright, Vampiric Skin Suit. We need 3 Lione pelts, which come from, the Bures. Alright, and the Scythe needs some... Oh wait, can we upgrade Scythe right now? No, obviously not. Where is Scythe? Down here? Oh, we need a Sinister Skull. We're not going to be able to upgrade that for a while.
Did you see the east?
You mean Zanget? He.
Well,
I mean, we did technically... Alright, yeah.
Those scars on his.
oh,
Yeah, definitely keep away from, Zangetsu. He, doesn't like alchemists. I mean, Johannes, though, I'm pretty sure, Johannes will probably be fine, but, considering that, he's kind of important to the game. Alright, now, let's go look for somebody to raid right now. And then I will probably go grind all the shards and, get that Leone pelt. Yeah, I need 3 of them. Oh, Labor Historia's on. Alright, now, hey, you want to see some funny KFC? Alright, let's go raid. Wait, Cinemax Sith, you want to raid? Oh, you want a guy to raid, okay. Tell me who you want to raid, Cinemax Sith. I would be more than happy to do that for you. Alright, doot 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 doot. And please. Alright, now. Ligma sticks? Oh wait, first target just ended. I have a backup? Okay. Okay, tell me who you have in mind. Alright, it's okay. Alright, now. I wish these succubus wings would actually allow me to fly. Although, you know what I should do? I should grind bat shards. Yeah, I should grind bat shards so I can be sort of like Alright, Black Mesa? No, Black Mesa, that's where rocket jumping comes from. I remember that. Alright, let's do that. Death Wish 1150, huh? Death Wish 1150, okay. Alright, let's go do that. By the way, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you had plenty of fun. Remember to play games and have fun, okay? And I will see you in the next... Oh wait, remember to fly like bat and shine like the moon. For weirder stuff dreams are made of. Endobody is literally made from, fairies are literally born from human dreams, and, that's how we became our own... We descended from that and became our own people. Goodbye.